Welcome to Eye on America. I'm Michelle Miller. Today we explore how law enforcement and other institutions are working to keep the public safe and secure. In Pennsylvania, we get a rare look inside the intense and extensive training U.S. Marshals undergo to prepare for dangerous situations. And in Iowa, we learn how a credit union is leading the fight against online scammers who are targeting some of the most vulnerable Americans. But we begin in Minneapolis, the site of George Floyd's murder nearly 5 years ago. The protest in response to his death helped reignite the Black Lives Matter movement and kicked off nationwide efforts for police reform. Usher Carisi visits the city to see what has changed and what work remains to be done.
Yes, look at that texture. Look at you go.
Sage Carroll's pottery workshops are shaping more than just clay.
My parents came of age during the civil rights movement.
These gatherings are about shaping the conversation.
We are having a conversation around policing in Minneapolis.
In the aftermath of George Floyd's murder, the Minneapolis City Council shifted almost $8 million of police funding in 2021 to expand other services. $150,000 put aside for artist-led community healing, programs that look like this. How do you maintain hope?
I don't know that I am still hopeful, but I don't know that it's going to get better, and I don't really think that it will in my lifetime.
I naively thought that this was a place ready for change, and it just wasn't.
Minneapolis Police Chief Brian O'Hara says repairing what's been broken requires a paradigm shift.
Slowly, we began to make changes incrementally to address, kind of getting the culture of the agency in line with the values of the community. Assalamu alaikum.
He's made a point of hitting the streets himself, showing up on scene, going on ride-alongs, and meeting community members where they are. The Minneapolis Police Department has spent at least $2.5 million on training and recruitment since George Floyd was murdered in 2020. But some community members here say that hasn't translated to trust.
That's why the biggest thing for me is not to just change policy here, it's to change what cops actually do on the street.
Months after O'Hara took the job in 2022, Minneapolis police entered into an agreement with the Justice Department to address a pattern and practice of abuse. That followed a ban on chokeholds and restraining techniques like the ones used on Floyd. At this training facility, O'Hara is literally changing out the posters, like this one that shows an officer being held hostage. Does it reinforce fear?
Certainly. Sort of that us against them, that very, very militaristic approach to policing.
So we can think about Minneapolis as representing both the promise of liberal police reform, but also its persistent failures.
Still, Michelle Phelps, a professor who's written about the politics of policing, has seen positive strides.
There have been a number of innovations about how do we think about reducing that contact between police and community members, and you're seeing other kinds of responders that can come into those situations that aren't armed with a gun and that aren't trained in how to deploy violence.
Make sure you get those individuals right there that say they need resources.
Muhammad Abdul Ahad is one of these responders.
Our work is more preventative, they're more responsive.
6 nights a week, he leads a team of volunteers, de-escalating conflicts before police are even called. What's the relationship like between you and police force?
I think the trust has been, elevated, much better now due to the new chief that's here. He comes from this work, so he understands this work.
Where is Minneapolis today?
I mean, we're going to get through whether or not, the systems start to work for us.
Community and cops still struggling to find the common ground necessary for true healing.
We continue examining the complex process to build trust between communities and their police forces. Mark Strassman travels to Tulsa, Oklahoma, a city with a long history of generational pain and distrust between its citizens and law enforcement.
You're welcome.
Sheba Atiki's Goodwill Tour only looks easy. Her job, a civilian ambassador for Tulsa Police. Her goal, thaw relations with an often standoffish community.
People are afraid to approach them, afraid to ask them questions. My job as a police ambassador is basically to be the liaison between the department and the community members.
Why is it challenging?
For example, if they're afraid due to their own backgrounds, to engage with officers.
Tulsa's proud of this mammoth tribute to its petroleum past, but the city also grapples with ghosts, especially the aftermath of the 1921 Tulsa race massacre. Local police helped a rampaging white mob. A black neighborhood nearly 40 square blocks incinerated. At least dozens were killed. So the distrust that Tulsa police face runs deep. Generations.
Step one, let's go get your ID.
If you don't learn from history, you're doomed to repeat it. I think we're doing a really good job of learning.
Dennis Larson, a 45-year veteran here, is the new police chief.
How important is building trust?
It's the cornerstone of, I think, every police department in the United States.
And all it takes is one bad moment.
It takes one bad moment.
Shots fired!
That moment in Tulsa, the 2016 police shooting of motorist Terrence Crutcher. He was troubled, had PCP in his system, but was unarmed. A white police officer shot and killed him. She was later acquitted of manslaughter.
Terrence's death truly unearthed a century of racial tension in Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Tiffany Crutcher is Terrence Crutcher's twin sister.
Do you hold them accountable for that?
What does accountability look like when you kill an unarmed man with his hands in the air?
Tulsa has its issues. Our CBS News data team studied police use of force. Tulsa has more police shootings per arrest than 93% of America's major police departments. And the city's own data shows lower than average scores when it comes to accountability, resolution of citizen complaints. Tulsa's own Equality Review gave itself failing grades on juvenile and adult arrests by race.
If we did something wrong, we're going to own it. We're going to say, how do we fix it and how do we make sure it never happens again?
Transparency is key.
Oh, 100%.
But Tulsa police never responded to our repeated requests for comment about that data. Tiffany Crutcher says the data speaks for itself.
What you're saying is antithetical to the data. I didn't make up the data, it's your data.
They seem to genuinely believe that they're making inroads in the trust department. Are they?
It means getting uncomfortable. And I don't believe that Tulsa's police department has done that yet.
There are critics who are going to see these changes as performative, not substantive.
Mm-hmm.
How do you respond to that?
Judge us by our actions in the future. It's pretty simple.
But also complicated.
We need to get in the mindset to help ourselves.
A broken trust generally is.
Coming up, how lawmakers are working to stop the spread of AI-generated deepfake pornography. This is Eye on America. Welcome back. Online harassment campaigns like revenge porn have grown more pernicious in recent years with the emergence of new artificial intelligence technology. But a potential new law recently passed by the Senate would require tech platforms to remove compromising images posted without the subject's consent. Jim Axelrod speaks with one victim, her mother, and officials who are urging measures be put in place for a safer internet.
Anna McAdams has always kept a close eye on her 15-year-old daughter, Elliston Berry's life online.
You always had an eye peeled for potential trouble.
Yes, yes.
Did you see this coming?
No, not at all.
Hard to imagine who would have on the Monday morning after homecoming in Aledo, Texas, 15 months ago.
She came into our bedroom crying, just going, "Mom, you won't believe what just happened."
A classmate had taken this picture from Elliston's Instagram, run it through an app like this one that, using artificial intelligence, appeared to remove her dress, then sent it around on Snapchat.
What are you looking at?
Child porn. It was horrifying.
There was nothing about it that looked fake.
No. No.
Just school and the environment, it was so different.
6 weeks into her freshman year of high school, Elliston Berry was confronting something sinister.
I had PSAT testing and I had volleyball games and football games, and the last thing I need to focus and worry about is fake nudes of mine going around the school. Those images were up and floating around Snapchat for 9 months.
Your mom reached out. You tried to get them taken down right after it happened.
And heard nothing.
Could have just easily been my daughter.
Do you have a lot of homework tonight?
In San Francisco, Yvonne Murray was starting to hear stories similar to Elliston's, which hit home.
My daughter at the time was 15. I'm a public lawyer and a mom, and this case unites both of those things.
The San Francisco Chief Deputy City Attorney, Murray, is now suing the owners of 16 websites that produce deepfake pornography.
This case is not about tech. It's not about AI. It's sexual abuse.
And a lot of it. These websites make disturbing pitches to customers. Have someone to undress, one asks, and they're successful. The lawsuit says the 16 sites had 200 million visits in just the first 6 months of the year.
We chose 16 of the largest, most pernicious operators in the world.
David Chu, the city attorney of San Francisco, says those 16 are just a start.
We're aware of at least 90 of these websites, so this is a large universe and it needs to be stopped.
Every victim should have the right to say, that's me.
Texas Senator Ted Cruz is co-sponsoring another angle of attack. The Take It Down Act just passed the Senate.
It puts a legal obligation on any tech platform. You must take it down and take it down immediately.
Snapchat told us they have mechanisms for reporting this kind of content, and they're disheartened to hear families felt that their concerns went unattended. But Elliston is now focused on the present.
And I urge the House to pass this bill immediately to protect so many people because this is a serious matter. I can't go back and redo what he did. Instead, I can prevent this from happening to other people.
You look so happy.
I really was.
Such strength for a high school sophomore dealing with a modern form of abuse when she should have been focused on enjoying homecoming.
We turn now to our nation's oldest law enforcement agency, the United States Marshals Service. Nicole Skanga gets an inside look at how their Fugitive Task Force trains to apprehend some of the country's most wanted criminals.
On a military base in rural Pennsylvania.
Drop the gun.
High-intensity survival training for America's oldest law enforcement agency, amid a spike in violent encounters.
Do you consider this one of the most dangerous jobs in law enforcement?
Oh, absolutely.
Developed by Brett Hall of the U.S. Marshals Training Division. Back-to-back drills stress test officers.
We are having to make these decisions in fractions of a second. And so that's what this course is, evaluate their decision-making skills under stress.
Seconds matter.
Exactly.
Simulating potentially life-threatening scenarios.
How did you feel about your heart rate, your breath rate?
Instructors track their heart rates in real time.
I see this person's in the red here.
We're getting up there.
Conditioning for the Fugitive Task Force, a team of officers serving hundreds of warrants every day to some of America's most wanted. It's called human performance training, but deputies have another way of putting it.
It's a good opportunity here for us to train for that bad day.
Just months ago, the agency marked its worst day in over 150 years. On April 29th, 4 officers gunned down while trying to arrest a dangerous fugitive, including U.S. Deputy Marshal Thomas Weeks.
He was one of a kind.
Hall's roommate through basic training.
He is energetic and intense.
The suspect fired an AR-15 rifle from his second-story window, one of 13 missions this year where marshals came under fire.
This came down to valor. This came down to honor.
Ronald Davis is the 12th director of the U.S. Marshals Service.
You don't see this as a failure of training?
Oh, no, absolutely not.
One surviving deputy told Davis after the first officer went down, he could not leave him behind.
He looked at me and he said, Director, I could not leave him on the X. Think about that. He's responding knowing that he's still under fire, but he could not leave him in the field.
That bad day, now one of the most scrutinized.
We will examine this from A to Z. We will try to learn anything and everything that we can.
and a painful reminder that even the toughest physical conditioning cannot prepare officers to heal emotional scars.
We got to take care of each other.
Back in training, Hall now teaches Emotional Survival 101.
I'm dedicating this class to Tommy and his crew, and that we as a group here will dedicate that it will not be in vain.
A class designed to help officers cope with grief as they honor the fallen.
Ahead, can banks step in to help prevent online fraud? That story's next. We close our show exploring a threat worrying many Americans, falling prey to online financial scams. 42% of adults have experienced fraud, according to an AARP report. One credit union in Iowa is now training their employees to help detect and protect customers for becoming victims of the schemes. Here again is Jim Axelrod.
I didn't talk to my family about it.
Not only was Ruth manipulated by scammers, but they told her to keep it secret.
Well, I wanted to tell them, but I thought that the government would punish me. And I didn't want them to get into trouble, anybody that I told.
Okay, let's start all over again, no worries.
The scammers convinced Ruth to take money out of her account to buy gold to keep her assets safe.
They made me buy gold, a lot of gold.
What reason did they give you for you needing to have gold?
They told me that if I bought gold, it's safer than stocks. And I agreed with that.
This is surveillance video showing Ruth walking the gold outside a retirement home and handing it to a stranger for what she thought was safekeeping.
Must be heartbreaking for you to watch that.
Absolutely. Shocking. Shocking that my mother, who's a really smart woman, would do such a thing.
Ruth's daughter, Leslie, was a trusted contact on her mom's account at Charles Schwab, who said she kept calling and pleading with them to step in.
I am begging you, lock my mother's account down. Please, please lock her account down. It is definitely a scam. We are all convinced it is a scam.
Schwab denies these claims, saying it tried to warn Ruth about the fraud risk, but that Ruth was insistent.
Fraud has always been here, but it's just continuing to bubble up.
Jill Gogol is the vice president of fraud services at the Dupaco Community Credit Union in Dubuque, Iowa, where they have an idea how to reduce fraud, targeting their 170,000 members.
More than bubble up now. Now it's just a
everyday occurrence.
Fire hose.
Yeah, some days it feels that way.
10 years ago, Dupaco says they prevented $300,000 in fraud losses. Last year, it was $10 million. Here, every employee, from teller to executive, gets fraud training annually.
So our first and foremost reason that we do this is because we want to protect our members.
Including how to spot and talk to credit union members whose withdrawal patterns indicate fraud risk.
We really want our tellers to engage with that member to understand what it is they're doing, especially if it's an unusual transaction for them.
And the customer gets a little bit annoyed with the teller. Why are you asking me so many questions? I'm going to another branch.
They're going to call me on the phone and they're going to say, I didn't like this interaction. Something felt off.
Your tellers are empowered to do that.
100%.
Dupaco then alerts local branches to watch out for dissatisfied customers who might also be potential scam victims, and even reach out to a trusted contact on file. Banks here work directly with local police like Corporal Isaiah Huff of the Dubuque PD.
It's a hard pill to swallow for some people.
Corporal Huff can sometimes reach a scam victim in a way family or friends cannot.
Does it happen, though, where just your presence as a detective, just the badge, makes somebody go, ooh?
That carries a lot of weight when I can show up with some supporting evidence that this is not who they say it is.
We think banks are trying their best to protect customers as best they can.
Paul Benda is with the American Bankers Association. He's testified before Congress on financial fraud impacting consumers and says you can't just rely on the banks to prevent it.
They would love to be able to do everything they can to stop them from losing their money. But a lot of times in the end, it's their money.
For Jill Gogol, there is still great value in a financial institution that takes customer security personally.
You're talking about a corporate mindset
It's not resources, it's will.
Correct. And I think sometimes we need to remember that maybe taking 2 extra minutes for one person can be a really big difference maker for that one person and really make sure that they feel safe and secure.
For more stories like these and live coverage of breaking news, stream us right here on CBS News 24/7. I'm Michelle Miller. Thank you for watching Eye on America.